So the Law Society was founded in 1933, and for 88 years, the Society has strived to provide opportunity to its members, to socialise, to experience new phenomena, and to engage in discourse. And the Praeses Elit Award is an integral part of that endeavour. It is awarded to those who have left an indelible impact in their chosen fields and who have advanced discourse in the process. So rarely bestowed, previous recipients of the award include Lord Norborg, Patrick Dempsey, and Laura Whitmore, to name but a few. The award was founded by Mary Robinson, former auditor of Trinity Law Society, and of course, the first female president of Ireland. So this year, in particular, the Law Society would like to place particular emphasis on empowering students, not only in their everyday lives, but also in their careers. And it is for this reason that Mr. Stanley Tucci has been nominated for the award. Through his career as a former fashion model, actor, writer, and producer, it is undeniable that Mr. Tucci has certainly inspired. He is a role model for all those who seek to fulfill their potential in their chosen craft, whatever that may be. And this is what the members of our society have pointed out in their nomination of Mr. Tucci. Mr. Tucci is a 4-time Emmy-winning, Oscar and Grammy-nominated actor who has starred in many films that have shaped our generation, including Devil Wears Prada, Easy A, Burlesque, and to name but a few. Mr. Tucci is a figure with a hugely positive influence on us all, and it is not only is worthy of condemnation, but thanks. And it is for that reason we would like to virtually present Mr. Stanley Tucci with the award.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm embarrassed by all that praise.
Not at all.
I really know this really means a great deal to me, and I really, really appreciate that you think of me so highly. As I said, I wish that I could be there to receive it in person because I love going to Ireland. It's been a long time since I've been there. But hopefully, as I said, I'll be able to get there. But I'm really, really flattered that you thought of me and honored to receive this. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Tucci. The honour is definitely all ours. And I said, please do come to Dublin when your schedule allows it.
Well, without question.
Yeah, and we'd only be delighted to show you around campus and of course Dublin itself. So thank you so much. So I guess, Mr. Tucci, before we discuss your exceptional career, I suppose the best place to start would, if you wouldn't mind telling us a little about how you grew up and what was life growing up in New York.
Well, I grew up. I grew up north of New York, like about an hour north of the city, 60 miles north of the city.
Catanoa? Is that how you pronounce it?
Sorry?
Is it Catanoa?
Katona.
Katona.
Katona. It's an old. A lot of the towns around there are named after Native American tribes. So there was a Katona, Chief Katona, I think was his name. And it was a really beautiful place to grow up. It was the suburbs, but more sort of rural than that. I grew up at the top of a hill on a cul-de-sac, surrounded by woods, and each house had an acre of land. It was really quite pretty, not extremely fancy or anything like that. But my dad was an art teacher at a few school districts away. My mom worked in the office there. And it was a really great place to grow up in Westchester County, northern Westchester County, in the 1960s and 70s, because things weren't as built up as they are now. Things were a bit safer than they are now. There was no, obviously, internet, a black and white TV. And most of the time, what you did, you spent your days as a kid in the, excuse me, in the woods and in the fields, making up games or playing sport or whatever. And it was a really, really wonderful place to grow up. And then at the age of 12, we went to Italy for a year. My dad studied at the Accademia in Florence. He took a sabbatical from teaching. And that was life-changing for me. I was 12. And it had such a significant impact on my life
Because you're
because here
from
we
Italian, you're from Italian descent, aren't you?
yes, both sides of my family are Italian. So both sets of grandparents came from Calabria. They were born at the turn they were born in the most yeah they were born, let's see, late 1800s, my grandparents. And we ended up going to Italy, and we traveled around Italy a little bit and went to Calabria, saw where my grandparents were from. And it was a great experience. I learned how to speak Italian fluently, which then I subsequently forgot and had to relearn. But it had an impact on me aesthetically and culturally, because if you're growing up in Westchester County, outside of the city, you really didn't travel very much, and we didn't have any money to travel. So really, the first big trip we ever made was to Italy. Other than that, I'd only been to Vermont to go skiing. That was it. Yeah. So it was a great way to grow up. It was a great way to grow up.
And would you say that, like your childhood and like growing up, I guess your dad is an art teacher, does that have any bearing on your future career? Like, or how, when did you, I suppose, know that you wanted to break into acting or that kind of world?
I don't really know, because nobody in my family was in show business. There was nobody, the most anyone did was they loved singing songs and playing guitar or mandolin, things like that. And I certainly can't sing. I didn't inherit that talent. But I don't know what prompted me to want to do it. And I remember doing a play when I was a kid. I was probably about 10 years old, and stepping up on stage, and I thought, well, this feels very comfortable. Then I realized years later that I actually felt more comfortable on stage than I did off stage. On stage gives you control, and a lot of people feel the opposite.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah, that's very funny.
But I don't feel that way. I feel very comfortable on stage. But that's just the way some people are. I think that also, being surrounded by art and being surrounded by people who love to cook, um, uh, those are both, obviously creative endeavors. And I think you can't help but want to do something creative when those two things are the focus of your life.
Absolutely. And I suppose, because you became, am I right in saying you did modeling before then?
No.
No.
Look at me. You think I did modeling? No, no. It's because I did one advertisement for
Levi's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people did that. So to call me a model is like, no.
Fake news,
Models
fake news.
No. They look like Jamie Dornan. That's what a model looks like.
And was there ever a moment, Mr. Tucci, when you thought, you made it? I'm right in saying your first kind of big TV series was Murder One?
Yes.
And you got nominated for an Emmy?
Yes. Yeah. And I took that job. I had just finished. I was about to co-direct Big Night. And I didn't have any money. I mean, I had just bought a house with my late wife and my stepchildren, who were little at the time. And of course, as soon as you buy something like that, you can't get a job. So I was, so afraid I was going to be broke. And that television series came along, and I was offered it. I had auditioned for it, and they offered it to me. And then we worked out the timing between directing Big Night and doing that series. And it was a really wonderful experience, that series. What was difficult was that I had basically to commute to LA. So I shot the pilot, then I directed the movie. Then, as we were editing the movie, I was flying back and forth to LA to shoot that series, to shoot 24 episodes of it or whatever it was. I think I flew 100,000 miles in 9 months or less. It was, but thank, I was much younger then, so
How did you
it
do the
was
jet lag? Because obviously,
it was
presumably,
horrible. It was, you
oh
didn't
my
have time to
goodness,
have jet lag. It was
yeah.
awful. Oh my God, it was so terrible. I would just sleep sort of on the plane, or I'd sleep on the couch in the editing room, and oh, it's just terrible, terrible. But anyway, it all worked out, you know.
Yeah, clearly.
But I don't. To answer your question about making it, I don't know that I feel like I've made that. I You have those moments where you think, oh, I've made it, and then you realize you haven't made it.
What is making it?
Yeah, exactly. What is it?
Yeah.
What is making it? I don't know. I suppose now, maybe for the first time, I really do feel some sense of uh, security in that way. That I think I've just been around so long that I've made it. You know. But actors never really feel like they've made it, and I think that's a good thing. Now the business engenders that kind of thinking, but also it excuse me. There's something about doubting yourself which is very good. It can be detrimental, it can be crippling, but can also be really healthy. And I think that sense of doubt, questioning, is really important. And it will make you feel like you've never made it. What it will do is it will allow you to challenge yourself more and
Absolutely, absolutely.
more. Excuse me. Sorry.
Yeah, no. I think, Mr. Tucci, as you were saying, especially the kind of acting showbiz industry, it's something where you face a lot of rejections from, like you're going through auditions, and I think that's a common complaint shared by a lot of actors. Is there a particular moment where you had, a big setback, or a moment where you thought, this is, I'm finished, I don't want to make it, or
Oh yeah, many times.
yeah.
Many times when I excuse me, when I first started out, um, I was understudying a lot of shows on Broadway and doing little jobs here and there. But I would make money by understudying, and it's a very hard job because you don't do anything, but you almost do something, or you're waiting for that phone call. Oh, the actor's sick, you have to go on,
Yes.
which did happen a few times.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a thankless job, but it was a good way to make money. But eventually, I got to the point where I was taking some drawing classes to keep my mind active and off of acting. And I thought for a moment I would leave acting and go to art school. And then I thought, well, God, I'll be even more broke than I am now. So maybe that's a bad idea. I also loved performing. And then eventually you start to get some jobs and it gets easier. But there's no question that your career has these, highs and lows, these peaks and valleys. It undulates. And over the last 40 years, it has undulated quite a bit. There have definitely been periods, even after when I did The Devil Wears Prada. Um, right before I did that, I had done, a lot of movies and things, but I was having a tough time getting a job. And then after I did The Devil Wears Prada, everyone loved the movie and blah blah blah. It was so great. I still couldn't get a job. I think that Hollywood didn't never knew what to do with me, and but I knew what to do. All they had to do was give me, as Pete Postlethwaite. Do you remember Pete Postlethwaite? He was a wonderful actor. He said, "If they give us the role, we'll do the job." Um, to me, as a director, when I direct and people bring up actors, for casting something, and I go, yeah. They go, do you want to meet him? Do you want to see her? Do you want to blah? I go, no. That person's a great actor. Just offer them the part. I don't have to go through all that nonsense. Unless they're a horrible person. That's what it boils down to sometimes, is are they nice? But anyway, it's a long-winded answer to your question, but it is, it always goes up and down.
Absolutely. As does, I think, life in general.
Yeah.
And yeah, full of setbacks and then
Yeah.
rewards. And I suppose, Mr. Tucci, you've played, a broad range of characters, from, Lovely Bones when you played the serial killer with Saoirse Ronan, one of our one of our celebrated actresses.
Yes.
Yeah, to quite literally, a singing harpsichord in Beauty and the Beast. I guess, is there a particular character you were proud to play, or that was particularly memorable for you?
Well, the movie with Saoirse was very memorable, although I don't want to remember it
Yeah,
because it was so awful and so sort of painful to do. But Saoirse's the one. Saoirse taught me more about acting than just about anybody. I'm not kidding. And she was 12. I think she turned 13 when we were filming, or she turned 14 or something.
that's
Um,
crazy.
Crazy. And I remember her. So that for me was a very memorable role, and I was glad I did it, even though at first I didn't want to do it. Memorable because I felt um, I was happy with the result of the relationship. I don't know if the film fully works, but I was happy with so many of the elements of it, and also to have that experience, to have to get up and do that horrible stuff all the time, even though it's just pretend. It's still like creepy. But meeting Saoirse and some of the other people that I worked with, was a great gift. And I remember when we got to the scene where I coax her down into his lair, and I have to do the thing where I stop her from getting up, and we never obviously see the act, but we see all the lead up to it, and it was a very, very hard thing to do. And Peter Jackson, unfortunately, waited. We had been shooting this movie for months, so we've been shooting this movie for like 5 months, and that was like one of the last scenes I shot, and I really just wanted to get it over with. But we had moved to New Zealand at this point. He built the thing in New Zealand, and so we're doing it. And I said, Peter, we have to do this very quickly and carefully. I can't keep doing this. So I would do a take, and I'd go after Saoirse and do all that awful stuff. And after every take, I'd go, "Are you okay, Saoirse?" And she'd go, "Yeah, I'm fine." And then I go, "Are you okay?" The next take. I did it like 5 times. And finally, she looked at me, she goes, "Stanley, I'm okay, but are you okay?" And I said, "No, not really. I'm really not okay." It was very upsetting. She goes, "All right, it'll be okay." She was 13. She was amazing, absolutely amazing person and actress. But yeah, a lot of these roles. Devil Wears Prada was one of the most fun. Julie and Julia was so much fun. This movie I did with Colin Firth a couple of years ago, Supernova, was a great honor to be in. And yeah, it was. It's nice to mix it up too, to have the sort of bigger movies, and then the smaller, the more intimate ones.
Absolutely. And just start going back to Lovely Bones, when you find you're playing such like a dark plot like that, and you film over like a substantial amount of time, does that have an effect on you then? Or do you find, like, like, for example, that's such a dark and kind of creepy plot, is it hard, is it, the filming process quite intense?
Yeah, it was really hard. To create I never felt the character would look like I look. And so therefore I said, I think he if this is 1970s suburbia, American suburbia, you know, the way I look is not the way. There weren't a lot of sort of Italian guys in 1970s suburbia necessarily. This was a very kind of, for lack of a better word, white world. And this guy had to disappear. He had to be really innocuous looking. So putting on a wig, like a sandy colored wig, changing the color of my eyes, wearing those sort of nondescript glasses, a little mustache. I had teeth put in to change the shape of my face a bit. We pinked up my skin a bit so I wasn't as swarthy, and then added a paunch. So he looked like any other middle-aged guy in the 1970s. Even the clothing was very nondescript, sort of beige, browns, grays, nothing. Like you wouldn't even know. He looked like a million guys. That was key. So, but what that did for me was once I put all that stuff on, it helped me find who that person was. I could hide behind it. And then at the end of the day, when you've finished shooting, you just couldn't wait to get all of it off so you could be yourself again. And that went on, as I said, for a long period of time.
Absolutely. And when you're preparing for a role, Mr. Tucci, is there a creative kind of process you do to get into the mind of the character, or?
Sometimes, like with that, yes. With that role, I looked at a lot of documentaries about serial killers. I read a lot about serial killers. Looked at photos of serial killers, which is where I came up with that idea of what he should look like. But I could only do it for like an hour and a half a day because it was so upsetting.
Absolutely.
I hate stuff like that. I hate anything, especially with kids getting hurt and all that. So, and then changing the way he spoke. So using, because it took place sort of outside of Philadelphia. So there's a very specific accent. So using some of that accent helped me. But that's for that role. Not every role is like that. Some roles you read it and you go, oh, okay, I know what to do. And you just go in and do it. Depends. It depends on the role.
Yeah, less demanding than others.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
And Mr. Tucci, as well as, being...
You don't have to call me Mr. Tucci. Just call me Stanley.
Okay.
Please.
Okay. Thanks, Stanley. So Stanley, as well as being an actor, writer, and producer, you've also broken into the world of cooking and cuisine. Right in saying you have a cookbook and you're the co-owner of Finch Tavern Restaurant.
I was a long time
ago. Not anymore. So what brought you into this? Has cooking also been a passion of yours?
Yeah, I mean, when I wrote Big Night, I wrote it with my cousin, and I had this idea for a movie, and I was going all over the place. I asked my cousin to help me write it. And we, obviously we grew up eating a lot of the same food because of our shared grandmother. But when we wrote that film, we were using the role of the chef and the role of the front of house as the sort of to show the struggle between commerce and art, and the setting of a kitchen restaurant seemed to be the right place to do it. If you do it with art, it just sort of becomes pretentious. So you can. That said, I did 5 years ago make a movie about Giacometti, which was slightly pretentious. But I think that once I really dove into that world, I became more and more interested in it. Now, I grew up with amazing cooks, and I always loved food. But as I researched to write Big Night and then to direct it, I got deeper and deeper into it. The movie comes out, and the movie was very successful. And it sort of changed my life because I'd walk into restaurants and people say, oh, you told the story of my life. And you're walking into like a French restaurant, or you're walking into an Egyptian or whatever. And because we told the story truthfully about what it's like to run a restaurant. And the restaurant fails, which is the best thing that could happen in the movie, really, in a way, because it's more truthful. Most restaurants don't make it. But I think that since then, I became more and more and more interested. And then suddenly became like a kind of, I don't know, like a voice for cooking or a voice for food. Or I don't know, I'm not expressing that properly. But I just became more and more interested and started researching more, and then put out a cookbook for my parents and a friend who helped me on the movie because I wanted to show he's from northern Italy, my parents' family's from southern Italy, so I wanted to have those two different aspects of Italian cooking in one book, and then we reissued the book about almost 10 years ago, 8, 9 years ago. And part of the deal was that I would write my own book. And I asked my wife to do it with me. She's a wonderful cook. And we did that. We put out our own book. And then I just, then I, you know, had made Julia and Julia. And I just became more and more and
That's
more
all about
involved.
cooking as well.
Yeah. I just became more and more involved. And a lot of chefs really loved Big Night. They say, like Massimo Bottura will say, like, you, that movie, like, changed my life. You know, people were like, that's the movie. And we never set out to make a movie like that. We were just trying to tell a story. But anyway, so now, then this last year, I wrote a memoir that is my life through food, because I realized that all of my life is really just about food. And especially the older I get. So, yeah, so that is now a really, really huge part of my life. And the idea of this television series that we've done, Searching for Italy, which has just came out here on BBC now, that is an idea I had almost 15 years ago, because no one had ever really taken Italy and broken it down region by region and looked at the incredible variety and disparity of of cuisine in each of those regions, and just to and I wanted to place that within the context of, you know, history, of politics, of socioeconomics, of geography, of climate, of immigration, all that sort of stuff, but all through the prism of food.
Yeah, well, and I think you're, you know, in my opinion as well, food is the best kind of topic of conversation. It's the best part of my day. So
Do you like to cook?
I love to cook, and I actually was in Italy over the summer, and I was with an Italian friend, and I didn't understand either that food was broken kind of down by province, and he was we're at a restaurant, he was kind of saying, you know, don't be ordering this here, you get that there.
Oh
So
yeah,
I
no,
think, you
it's
know,
true.
so many people are
Yes.
so ignorant to that fact,
No, I
myself
know, and
included.
people don't know. They think, oh, I'll just order the pizza and the thing, and the Italians will look at you and go like, why would you order a pizza here?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I remember the waiter kind of looking at me like he refused to take my order, because I find Italians are so passionate about food and what they
Oh
do.
yeah.
Yeah.
No,
It
they'll be
was amazing.
the most generous and the most sort of giving and permissive until it comes to certain one thing, and then they'll just go, no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
But I just wanted the butter, you know, and they're like,
Yeah. Yeah.
no butter, sorry.
I think I asked for a cappuccino, and I got
You
told
asked for a
that was,
cappuccino after dinner.
yeah,
No,
no.
no,
It was unforgivable.
no, no. As my friend Isabella Rossellini said, if you ask for that, if you ask for a cappuccino after dinner, they go no, no, and no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was a nice way of what they put it to me as.
Yeah.
So it was shortly changed to an espresso.
Much better, much better.
Much better. Yeah. So I'm more culturally aware now. But yeah, no,
Good, good,
absolutely.
good.
So Stanley, you're clearly someone who wears, you know, a lot of hats, and you know, works in a lot of, I suppose, industries, you could say. And a lot of our members listening today, or when, you know, when we stream it live, or not live,
Or whatever, yeah.
yeah, whatever it will be, you know, they have to make the choice as we leave college of what, you know, what you want to do, what you want to become when you grow up. So I guess, as my final question is, what would your advice be? You know, do we have to be this one thing, or, you know, as you represent, you know, there's many kind of talents and dreams we can pursue.
The only thing you have to be is happy. That's all you have to be. It doesn't matter what you do, as long as it makes you happy. Um, I always say that to my kids, and it doesn't matter to me if you. I don't care if you go to college. If you have found something that you want to do and you're doing it, if you're a carpenter, a tradesman, a whatever, a gardener, and you love doing it, do it. Great, have a good time. Um, I don't. I I think that we have ideas about what we're supposed to do, and some of those ideas are imposed upon us by society and by our families. But ultimately, we have to just pursue what it is we want to pursue. And again, that the most important thing is happiness, but happiness only comes from, you know, happiness comes from two things, as Freud said, I think. Liebe und Arbeit. Love, love and hard work. That's it. And obviously food.
Yeah, obviously.
I don't
Yeah.
think he said food though, but
Yeah.
to me that's the most important thing. And I think one other thing that would, I suppose, I sort of touched on this a little earlier, but something that my college professor said, he was, because I went to a conservatory, I had like a terrible education, and there was this one thing he'd always say in reference to acting, but I think it applies to so many aspects of our lives, which is go beyond what's comfortable.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's about, and that's exactly why, we're awarding you with the Praeses Elit today. It's about broadening perspectives and, making that indelible impact on whatever your chosen field will be, which you certainly have done, Stanley.
Thanks.
And once again, I'd really, really like to thank you for, your time, for accepting our awards, and for imparting so much knowledge, advice, and your love of food as well.
Well, thank you. I'm really, really honored, as I said, and I really appreciate you offering me this and taking the time.
No, our pleasure. So anyway, hopefully the award will arrive in the post very
Oh,
soon.
good. I can't wait.
And once again, when you're in Dublin, please let us know. And we're only
I
happy.
will. I'm going to work it out so I can come and visit. I'd love to meet you all in person.
Please do, please do.
Right.
Yeah. Well, until then, anyway, it's our honor, Mr. Teacher Stanley, and have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye.